there's so much political confusion in Kenya.
Right.
It was not a topic that was on people's social consciousness. And all of a sudden, January 4th kind of comes charging, being made.
Yeah, people
Those
are not,
connections
people don't understand
They
it.
don't understand those connections. So they don't really pay attention. And while we can't influence, directly influence these elections, they have an impact on us because, had it not been for Biden, then we would not have a Meg Whitman. Had it not been for Meg Whitman, they would not have validated this pariah of a president who has really been empowered by an administration. And then, that coupled with all the other global issues that are going on, resulted in what we experienced.
And our trade agreement is front and center in there.
Okay,
by the way.
Because that was our January 6th.
That was our January 6th. That was our Waterloo.
Yeah.
So I come out from there.
No. Do not compare.
Okay, Mika, we are gonna come to you. Wacha baraza malize, and then we're
But I
gonna
was
get
just
back to you.
introducing.
Tu kifupi nikisema wewe vile umesema January 6 na Gen Z protests are not the same thing.
Okay, all right, sawa. We're gonna get to you, Mika, now. I don't even know where to get started today. This has been a really tough week. But in what has been described as a tight race by pollsters, Donald J. Trump beat Kamala Harris earlier this week in a decisive win where he won. Not all battleground states have been called, but he will likely be the winner of all the 7 battleground states. And of course, joining us tonight for a compelling discussion on what impact a Trump presidency will have on Kenya is DC social justice organizer Dr. Nathan Wangusi. Now, Dr. Nathan Wangusi will talk about the fate of the deals that President William Ruto signed with the Biden administration following the state visit earlier this year. He'll also tackle issues around trade, immigration, AGOA, and the possibility of a recall of Ambassador Meg Whitman. As you know, many people were really upset with Ambassador Meg Whitman. So once again, karibu for a second time to Kilimanjaro Studios, Dr. Wangusi. Karibu sana. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling good. As you said, it's been a whirlwind of a week. On my part, I just came from Kenya, so I have a very different sense of the election environment here.
Okay.
Coming from sort of experiencing what Kenyans have been living through in the last couple of months.
Okay.
Remember, we just got a new deputy president after the impeachment of Rigiji.
Yes.
It's had consequences, obviously, on the ground. Spent a lot of time in Nairobi. One of sort of the most poignant experiences I had when I was there was one of my really good friends. He's also a social organizer in Langata, Daniel Barasa. If he's listening, I'm giving him a big shout out
to Daniel Barasa.
Yeah. So
Ali Amelipa.
We'll send an invite.
We'll send an invite. Salamu.
Hapa kuna salamu bila pesa, Omera.
So I'll tell you about Daniel. So Daniel was one of the first. He was one of the first, and I should be careful when I say this, but
yes,
this kid was one of the first protesters to go into parliament. Of course, there were thousands of them who went in, but he was right in that front line.
Okay.
And
you're outing him, Bwana.
No, is he the one who took the video?
He took a lot of the videos that we saw.
Okay.
He's just one of the Gen Zs who went into
right place, right time. Was it wrong place, wrong time?
He was in the right place at the right time because he has a very unique perspective of the history of Kenya now, given that this was one of these seminal events that we'll talk about for generations to come.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, but anyway, he made an effort to actually take me through what they went through.
Okay.
So we walked down from the Supreme Court. We went to the governor's office. We went to Parliament, and he explained to me the personalities that he saw being shot down, his friends, what was really going on. And right now it's very quiet. It's very difficult to kind of wrap my mind. It was very difficult to wrap my mind around what was actually
what was
going
happening
on, but
then,
he could-
because
he-
you're in a silent.
it's
silence.
quiet.
Yeah, yes.
But
Yeah.
you can still see, in spite of the fact that they've tried to, repair,
Yeah.
you can see that the governor's office has just been newly painted.
City Hall,
because
yes.
Yeah.
it was,
was burnt down.
It was
Yeah,
burnt
yeah,
down.
yeah,
You can
so-
see, from a distance, you can also see some bullet marks.
Yeah.
I stood at the very places that some of our young heroes
Gen Zs,
were cut down by guns, and it was
So-
a very emotional experience for me.
Is Parliament still accessible? Like the guy who was shot right in front of Parliament.
No,
that
they've
area?
kind of put a lot of now security
So
protocols.
so
It's
a
very
regular
heavy.
person can't really get to that point, right?
Not in the same way.
Yeah,
In fact, we were quite nervous because, there's very hawkish and hawk-eyed security forces, around Parliament now. So if they see you lingering around,
Taking pictures.
taking pictures,
Yeah.
now,
Or
it's very
just look
clear.
how you
there's-
look out of place.
Yeah.
If you just look at kind of out of place,
Yeah.
they come at you. So it was a
Okay.
really sort of poignant experience, and he really wanted to talk to me so that I can come out and tell the world that, he told me go and tell the world what happened here.
Okay.
Beyond just the really dramatic scenes we saw on TV,
Okay.
there was real and palpable fear, and I could tell. He's a brave young man, exceptionally brave young man, but even he was saying, ilifika mahali hata sisi tulikuwa tu tunajiokolea maisha,
Okay.
and how they
Adrenaline.
were
Yeah.
being chased down.
Adrenaline.
It was very, and one of the things that really stood out to me was apparently it was really personal for some of these police officers. They would identify what they thought were the ringleaders, or they would just kind of identify an individual, then they pursue him.
Yeah.
He told me that had it not been for the intervention of the fathers at All Saints, so those are
yes,
the
I
other
remember.
heroes.
A lot of people would
Yeah,
have been
I
more
remember
Would
down.
have
that
been more
story.
down. So
Yeah.
apparently they hid him inside the cathedral. That's what saved his life.
Okay.
Because there was an officer who had made a decision. He had identified
so and it
him.
was coming
He
direct
knew
for
his
him.
face. So he was coming from him. So he jumped into All Saints, and that's where he found refuge. And he stayed there.
Okay.
And then after he left there, he actually left Nairobi and went
Okay.
into hiding for several weeks.
Okay, now that's something that we're going to be talking
Very
about.
interesting.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about, and this
And
gentleman
sorry
that
to
you're talking about.
deviate.
No.
that's okay.
Topic, but I think
It
just the
goes with where we
experience
are
of being
because
there.
Yeah.
it's getting us
Yeah,
to where
and
we
then
need
Yeah.
to
and
get.
then
Because that was our January 6th.
that was our that was
That was
Correct.
our January
Yes.
6th.
that was our Waterloo.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I come out from there.
No. Do not compare.
Okay, Mika, we're going to come to you. Wacha Baraza malize, and then we're
But I
going
was
to get
just
back to you.
introducing. So
Yeah.
tu kifupi nikisema wewe vile umesema January 6 na Gen Z protests are not the same thing.
Okay, all right, sawa. We're going to get to you, Mika. Now, my other question is, were people in Kenya talking about the U.S. elections while you were
no,
there?
there was so the reason I started there is because I wanted just to communicate that there's a lot of confusion in Kenya. So you would imagine that the U.S. election would be front and center, not just in the media but in people's social consciousness, because the U.S. election has an impact on people's lives in Kenya, and it's a palpable impact for many people, because maybe people work in NGOs, they are involved in like human rights activities, and the
Sema
US
tu
government-
tunatuma pesa.
alafu kuna hiyo kutuma pesa,
Okay,
but
alright.
there's so much political confusion in Kenya.
Correct.
That was not a topic that was on people's social consciousness, and all of a sudden January 4th kind of comes charging. I hopped on a plane, I think must have been the Thursday or the Friday, and then I land in DC. Obviously I have to kind of get over the jet lag. Then I wake up on Monday morning, I'm like, oh wait, there's an election. There wasn't that sort of excitement or sense that there was this really seminal event that's going to actually affect us in more ways than one. The other thing, and even more importantly, is this: that the U.S. election, given all these issues that we are going to discuss today, including the impact it has on global geopolitics, whether that's in the Israel-Palestinian conflict that is affecting oil prices, or in the Middle East, whether that has to do with like the Ukraine war that is affecting grain prices and as a result having ripple effects, that connection is really not being made.
Yeah, people
Those
are not.
connections
People don't
they-
understand
They
it.
don't understand those connections, so they don't really pay attention. And while we can't influence, directly influence these elections, they have an impact on us because, you know, had it not been for Biden, then we would not have a Meg Whitman. If had it not been for Meg Whitman, they would not have validated this pariah of a president who has really been empowered by an administration. And then, you know, that coupled with all the other global issues that are going on resulted in what we experienced.
And our trade agreement is front and center in there, by the way.
So hopefully you see that connection. I apologize for kind of digressing, but I really wanted to just make sure that you know, as part of my introduction, I made that.
Hawa tu wa thesis wagona tupeleka gambio huko.